Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I want to talk about in terms of how to pass the CFA Level 2 exam in 3 months. First of all, I want to congratulate those who have passed the CFA Level 1 exam. Out of every 100 student who does write it, only 45% of them actually, roughly about 45% of students actually manage to pass it. And now whoever is going to write this level 2 exam, the chances of passing is same around 40 to 45%. So means somebody who's 100 people who start writing level 1, only 40 people pass, or 45 people pass, and then another 40% of this, maybe another 16 to 18 people actually pass level 2. So we're going to talk about in terms of how to pass the level 2 exam in 3 months. So first thing first, the level 2 exam is being divided into 10 topics, right? What you really want to do is you want to start reviewing the lowest weight, right? And then start moving towards the highest weightings, right? There are some topics which are weighted 5%, 10%. Those are the lower weights ones. So you want to spend some time on this one first. And then you want to start moving on, because moving on to the higher weighting ones, which is about 10 to 15% topics, you want to move into those ones. The reason being is, if you start with the highest topic ones now, by the time you do, when June does happen, you will probably forget most of the information, right? So you would rather get a decent idea of the lower weights first, and once you gradually, right now we are sitting in end of Feb, right? So hopefully by the time you end sometime in May, or in April, end of May, so you're trying to review the higher weighting topics. There's about 3 or 4 topics which are of high weights, so you want to really maximize your time using those, spending time in those topic areas. So that's in terms of understanding the topics. Right now we want to take a look at in terms of prep material. Now we know the recommended one is the CFA curriculum, right? The curriculum which they give you is the ultimate recommended one, but keep in mind you have 3 months and there's a lot of material in the CFA curriculum, and so if you sit down and read all of the stuff on there, first of all, it's going to take you a lot of time to understand. Right, time is something you don't have, so you're gonna spend a lot of time to understand, and you'll try a lot of time to dissect in terms of, hey, you know what, even if you read it, probably you don't even understand what is actually written in there, right? So there's a lot of information in there, and if you spend a lot of time just trying to read it and then dissect it, and then you try to go and understand, okay, you know what, after all this reading, which of them is actually makes sense, right? So that's why, in terms of prep material, I do, let's talk about prep material. So in terms of prep material, there's a lot of prep providers out there, so find one. There's a lot of people who do have YouTube videos as well, right? So go through the YouTube videos, see which one makes the most amount of sense for you, and get a YouTube video, right? Most of them have dissected the whole material within 100 and 150 hours, right? So if you spend some decent time on there, maybe 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day, there's a chances that you can actually go review the whole material within 150 hours, right? So find a prep provider who is on YouTube. There's some of them on there. Just select which one you want, and most of them have covered the whole entire curriculum between 100 and 150 hours, right? Now, once you review the whole material, right, up between 150 hours, what I do recommend is go through each reading, right? So the way you want to prepare is you go through each reading. So let's say you select reading 1, right? After you finish reading 1, once you also want to find if they have a review video, right? So let's say if the whole reading is of, say, 2 hours, you want to see if they have, there's a prep provider who have review videos who can actually short it down to, say, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, right? So reading, going through a 2 hours is going to give you some mastery, but reviewing the 20 or 30-minute review videos is really going to give you the crux of what the whole thing is, right? And if you have it's also important to find, if you can find a prep provider who can actually review the end of chapter questions. Now this is a key element on here. The reason I say it on here is because after you have read the material, you know what, maybe you retain some decent amount of material on there, maybe not a whole bunch, and then you review it, and there are going to be some aha moments that, hey, you know what, there are some things which you didn't understand in when you such the whole 2-hour video. Maybe now, you know what, now when you sit down and do the review videos, maybe you didn't even need to know the whole bunch of stuff. You just need to know the crux of what the matter is. And a lot of times I've seen a lot of students that that, you know what, after reading the videos, they go through the end of chapter questions. This is a really key one. I mean, even though you have read the material, you want to make sure that you instill the material in you. So you're looking at the end of chapter questions. And what I do recommend is based on whatever topic you're reading. So let's say if you go through equity, you're going to go through all the readings, right? And then you go online and there's something called as topic test, which you can find under candidate resources on CFA. So now you have a lot of repetition, right? You saw the material once, you saw the material twice, and now you go through the end of chapter questions, and now you're going through the end of the topic test. I would also recommend to take a look at the examples, right? So if you take a look at the whole thing, what you're doing is you're reviewing the material once, twice, thrice, 4 and 5 times. I mean, if you look at the material 5 times, there are certain things that is going to stick in your brain. Alright, so this is how I would recommend you to use a prep material. Now, in terms of which prep material, as I mentioned, right, go to YouTube and see and take a look at, you know what, which prep providers you like. There's a lot of them out there, so I'm not going to recommend one over the other, but hey, you know what, you can find out for yourself. And if they don't have any YouTube videos, maybe just Google it, right? And if they have any trials, maybe do a 1 or 2 day trial, whatever it is, or 1 or 2 video trial, and do their trials. See if you like the videos, see if you understand, see if you connect with the instructor, right? Now, whether the person is now keep in mind, for people who are offering prep material, is not required for them to have CFA. Now, what do I mean by not required? I mean, think about it. If you're in a sport, if you're an elite NBA or soccer player, their coaches are not really the people who are elite NBA players or elite soccer players. Highly unlikely, right? Same way, just because somebody has a CFA behind their name doesn't mean that they can really explain the material to you, right? So find somebody who can explain a topic to you in the most understandable manner. So those are the prep materials that you want to take a look at. What I also do recommend is, you know what, leave about 2 to 3 weeks before the final exam date. These 2 to 3 weeks, what you'll really be doing is you'll just be doing mocks, right? Which is mocks. You're going to do end of chapter questions again. You're going to do examples, topic test. So the idea really is do as much questions as possible, right? You spend a lot of times, a decent amount of time going through the material at least 5 times, right? If you're going through the videos, you know what, it's going to be quick, because a lot of the prep providers, they actually let you to increase the speed to 1.5 times. So let's say you know what, if the prep provider, if the video in total, let's say the whole material is 150 hours, you speed up the video 1.5 times. It means that you can actually cover the whole material in 100 hours, right? In 100 hours. So if you go and spend, say, 4 hours a day, chances are in 24 days or 25 days, you'll be done the whole material, right? And then, of course, if you add on, if you go through the end of chapter questions, you do the topic test, the examples. So maybe, you know what, you actually, maybe in about 40 to 45 days, you're done with the whole material. Once you do the material, the most important part is in terms of doing all these questions. So yeah, that's the way you can go and ace the CFA Level 2 exam within 3 months. If you have any questions, let me know. If you do like the video, please like and subscribe. Have a good one.